This is the best 4K gaming PC you can get right now under 1,000 euros. Actually, we've spent less than that. We've only spent 900 euros for all these beauties, and we've sold it for euros. The core of this PC is going to be the 11700K paired with an RTX 3080 from MSI, the gaming Z Trio. These are not the only components I am, because we also have a Gigabyte Aorus Z590 Master, which is an incredibly cool motherboard. You'll see it in just a second. We're also going to pair it with a Gen 4 NVMe, 1TB of it. We're going to cool the CPU with a Corsair H100, which matches perfectly the NZXT H510, and all these beauties are going to be powered thanks to the Gigabyte P850GM, a 850 watts, 80 plus gold PSU. Enough talking, let's get started with the unboxing of the motherboard and CPU installation. Let's get it. Here we are with this super high-end motherboard. Let's unbox it and see all the perks of it. You can already see how many heatsink it has, and you can definitely tell that this is a pretty high-end motherboard, since as you can see we have 4 reinforced DRAM channels, 3 reinforced PCIe 16 lanes, 19 power lanes, a ton of connectivity, as you can see, double USB 3 connection, USB-C connection, reinforced 24 pins, double 8-pin CPU connectors on the front. But that's not it, because we have heatsinks even on the back of the motherboard. This thing is gonna run extremely cool. We can install the CPU. This has been sanded down so that the IHS, which is the metal part of the CPU, makes the direct contact with the heatsink even better. This is a used motherboard, used CPU, used everything, even the GPU, but we've saved a ton of money. So we can install it just as that. We press it down, and we've already installed the CPU. And now we install the 32 gigs of DDR4 at 3200 MHz. It matches perfectly the overall build. This is gonna look stunning. Even the sound of this motherboard is just insanely satisfying. Oh. Now we can proceed by removing this massive heatsink. Actually, we only need to remove this first one and insert the M2 NVMe, which I've lost track of. There we have it. It has spawned an NVMe. We can remove this M2 cover. Let's remove the protective film of these pads. It has made no sound whatsoever. 1TB NVMe. You can actually place up to 3 NVMe's on this motherboard, which is insane by itself. And it supports basically every RAID profile, which is even crazier. Another double M2 slot, and as you can see, it's cooled by this heatsink. We now need to install the only one. I'm doing it right now, because as you can see, we can remove the part where you're supposed to mount the front fans, so that's extremely convenient, thanks to NZXT for this. Okay, we can now install the motherboard. As you can see, this is majestic. The IO shield is already on the motherboard, so that's sweet, because you can't forget it. Let me show you what I got. Here we are at build completed. If you're wondering why the PC looks completely different, it's because this is not the PC we've just built, since I already sold that one. But let's draw some conclusions. First of all, performances, and second of all, profit. Let's start with Warzone, since it seems like it's the most played game right now. At 4K balance settings, DLSS, it manages to hit around 110 FPS, while at 144p at balance DLSS, once again, it stays between 130 to 140 FPS. When we switch to Valorant, things start to be a little bit strange, since at 4K Ultra it's a huge performance gap, but it stays between 280 and 350 FPS. At 1440p it drops frames. I get that Valorant it's a more CPU bounded game, but still it stays between 250 and 330 FPS, everything maxed out of course, and at 1080p it's the same, so between 250 and 330. When we switch to CyberPunk, at 4K details, it manages to hit 72.52 FPS, at 4K Ultra 44.37 FPS, 1440p ray tracing overdrive 41.64 FPS. This game is still a menace for PCs. At 1440p ray tracing ultra 55.28 FPS, at 1440p ray tracing medium 58.72 FPS. So let's say that if you want ray tracing, you gotta switch to 1440p with this PC. At Detroit Become Human, 4K, everything maxed out at ultra 98.8 FPS average, which is incredible. Switching to Fortnite, a lot of people have complained about this game, but it's still super played, so it makes sense to benchmark a PC with this kind of game. At 4K settings, 54 FPS, medium 94.6 FPS, a huge gap, and at low 119.4 FPS. So if you have a high refresh rate 4K monitor, you can still benefit from it, but you gotta turn down the quality options. Switching to 1440p, at high 73.5 FPS, at medium 92.3, and at low 118.8 FPS. 1080p I've only tested high since it already scores 170.7 FPS. So this PC is great for 1440p game and also as a workstation. And in fact, the buyer of this PC has bought a Samsung G5 to pair it with. By the way, the G5 is a great choice for 1440p 144Hz monitors, but keep in mind that the most popular variant is the VA panels, so colors are not the best. The greatest limitation I'm facing with the RTX 3080 is the 10 GB of video. If you can, go for the 12 GB one, because at 1440p, but especially if you push it up to 4K, you'll fill up those 10 gigs quite quickly, trust me. Let's break down the price of each component. I bought from the same seller the Intel i7 11700K, the Aorus Z590 Master, an RTX 3080 again. It's not the one used in the build I sold, but we'll pretend it is to simplify cost breakdown. An H100 240mm from Corsair, only one, even though we ended up using a Noctua NHD15 for look purposes, since it was all black and the build has been black and RGBs. It turned out extremely cool. 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RGB at 3200 MHz and a Corsair HX 1000i. Everything for 850 euros. But we've also got a water block for the 3080, which will count as 50 euros because that's the price we're gonna sell it for, most likely. But we've also spent 50 euros between petrol and tolls, since it was in Modena and I live in Firenze. I didn't use the 1000 watt PSU, of course, since it would have been extremely overkill, so we'll count that as 100 euros, which is a pretty low price. But we've got an 850 watts PSU for 70 euros, which means we spent 820 euros total. On top of this 820, we added an NVMe Gen 4 1TB, the Lexar 710, which was 48.60 euros new during Black Friday, 40 euros of case, and that's pretty much everything, for a grand total of, you can see right here, 908.6 euros. I sold it for 1200 euros because it was a friend of mine who bought it, but we could have easily sold it for 1300, maybe even 1350 euros. I made around 30% of profit. If I would have sold it for 1300 euros, it would have been 43% of profit, which is not bad at all. Do you think this was a great deal? Or have you found something at an even lower price? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for sticking until the end of this video. Remember to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and activate the notification bell so that you won't miss any future video, because I'm planning to make a series of PC flipping, so make sure to stay up to date. Thank you, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!